Best and Rodney Marsh, two men of prodigious talent and humour who made their names really as individualists. The perfect match in their sport, and they've teamed up again to look back at some of the events of soccer in the 70s. A little nostalgia, a reminiscence, the odd joke, and I mean odd, and plenty of exciting match action. Indeed, outstanding club sides are the subject of this particular show. We'll concentrate on the two teams that dominated the First Division in the early to mid-70s. Derby County, led by Brian Clough, and Don Revie's Leeds United. Great teams. You've played in a great team or two. George, what's the best team you played in if you had to choose?
Well, obviously the side that the sort of a few years leading up to the European Cup final, I think sort of from 63 to 68, we had a tremendous side at Old Trafford.
Right. Yeah. We knew you'd say that, I think. I think we expected that. Nothing like a European Cup trophy and the first that an English team were going to win. What about you, Rodney? The best team you ever played in?
Well, the best team I ever played in was Queen's Park Rangers in 65, 66, 67, 68. Very concurrent with the United team at that time because we didn't have a good team. We didn't have good individual players, great individual players. We had a collection of players that could play together. And that team won the third division, the League Cup, the second division, and got into the first division all in a 3-year period with comparatively very ordinary players. And from a team standpoint, I think we owed a lot to the manager at that time, a guy called Alex Stock, who had a way of putting together all odds and bods and making them into a team. And certainly for me to play in a team format, he must have done a great job, yeah.
And when you say there were no great players there, you're not...
No, I mean great players. You know, there was players like Les Allen, Mark Lazarus, the Morgan twins, and players like that, who were good players in their own right, but we didn't have, at that time, any brilliant international players.
You mentioned Alex Stock there. How important in a great team is a great manager, George? Can you have a great team without a great manager?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so. I think when you're talking about great managers, I think great managers are managers who get the best out of it. It's like Rodney's saying, getting the best out of players who maybe aren't world class, but you get close to them. I don't know what it is. You know, certain managers, Cloughy has it to a certain degree. And,
do you know, I think though, as well, do you know, I think that I heard a story about Matt Busby once. I don't know how true this is, the story, but Matt Busby is a great manager, obviously, by definition. And apparently one day there's a game going on at United, and at half-time they come in and they're losing at home at Old Trafford. And so Matt Busby comes in and he says, OK, I want you defenders to get over there, and I want you, Bestie, and Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law over there. He says, now listen, you can't play, so you get the ball and give it to those, they can play. That's the, I mean, I don't know how true that story is, or any variation of that story, but that's a great management trick, or, you know what I'm saying, to get the players motivated. How true is that?
Yeah, he did things like that. You know, he made you think, and Paisley was the same. You know, some of the stories, I mean, obviously they're not all true, but a lot of them are true. And little things that are the way you speak to players, and the way you react, and the way you change situations, it makes a big difference. It makes players want to play for you.
We're going to look at the two best teams really of the early 70s, the two great teams in British football. Both of them managed, Clough and Revie, by men who went down as great managers in one way or another, and one of them still that way. Clough is the first one, though, we're going to look at. Let's look at these two teams. This is a game from, when is it? From 1972, Sheffield United versus Derby County. What do those teams look like to you, gentlemen? What do we see there?
Well, the Derby team, I mean, number 6, as far as I was concerned, was one of the great players, Colin Todd. I mean, so cool and classy, brilliant. And up front, you know, good players. The same, I suppose, you looking at the teams, or particularly Derby, you wouldn't say world-class players, you know, top-class international, but he got the best out of them. They won
That's interesting, because when you look at the team, the Derby County team, you would think, looking at the players, they're all pretty good players, decent players, but they don't have any outstanding players in that team, and yet the manager was good enough to turn what could be termed an ordinary team and make them into a title contender.
That one helped on by Mackenzie, but it's Hector for Derby. Hector has a second chance. Gemmell. Good cross, Todd's up there. And Hinton in the clear, right across the face of the goal. Alan Hinton, who was doubtful before the game with an injury, but he was in the clear there. The angle was narrow, and he put it right across the face of the goal. Hinton, of course, the dead ball expert who takes the penalties for Derby. Well, what a plague of back goal kicks. This time O'Hare's through. Hector. It must be there. Bramall, the finishing touches. The ball may well have been over the line, but certainly Bramall was the man who put it into the net. Hector, the man who crossed it. Durban breaking on the outside. This is Durban. And behind for corner. Kahuna. Hinton going across to take the corner. Here's Tom Hensley. The Derby fans making themselves heard as Hinton prepares to take this corner. McFarlane's up in the penalty area. And that's in the net off Mackenzie. Hope missed it. The ball bounces in the net of Mackenzie, and Derby are 2 up. Derby throw. Hector going outside his man across the goal line. Mackenzie all tangled up. O'Hare. Hector, a corner off Badger. Sheffield United defence getting in a bit of a tangle then. Well, whoever does win the championship eventually, Derby have looked the championship side this afternoon. Hinton and Robson in harness again. Robson now moving away. Hinton towards the near post, coming out to Bramall. Hinton. A header goal, Hector. What a beautifully taken goal. No doubt about it at all. Into the net like a bullet. The cross by Hinton. Kevin Hector the scorer. And that's 3-0, and Derby surely have this match sewn up now. Now McFarlane. Hinton has now moved over to the outside left position. Webster, towering McFarlane. That head injury hasn't bothered him at all this afternoon. Free kick to Derby County, who are dictating this game as they've dictated it for most of the play. Ford finding Salmons. Mackenzie. Farland got his boot to that Todd. And it's Todd who leaves it for Bramall. McGovern. Todd completes the process with the aid of Bolton. Colin Todd, well worth that big fee. There were some doubts expressed when Derby paid it, but the doubters must be eating their words now. And that may have let Hector through to corner. Eddie Cahoon. Hector there at the corner flag with Hinton. Gemmill. Hector. O'Hare. 4. What an easily taken goal. John O'Hare makes it 4. Alan Hinton and Archie Gemmill and Kevin Hector were all there.
I think the thing that I noticed really there was that, apart from the perfect condition of the playing surface, was when you get a team like that, we're obviously on a good run and they were going for the championship. Everybody wants the ball. You can see them. They were all there was always 3 or 4 options. They're all looking for the ball.
Yeah,
it builds that confidence up.
Central defender Roy McFarlane coming up to take free kicks and yeah. In watching that game, and we're talking about nostalgia, and we're comparing sometimes the 70s to the 80s. I mean, it's very obvious that there's certain things about the 80s soccer which are far, far better than the 70s. I mean, the haircuts today are much better.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to move on to the other team that dominated the early 70s, perhaps more even than Derby. What was that